Hey guys, what's going on? This is Tamiya Robles. I am a credit repair specialist, a credit repair expert, owner of FixMyCreditNow850.com, host of this podcast, Coast to Coast Credit. What's good? So I'm gonna just get right into it. I told y'all I was going to do some new stuff going into 2024, and one of them is going to be reaction videos. Reaction videos basically on anything credit related. I don't really care about the gossip and all the other things that's popping off. I'm sure my platform would do amazing if I did, but I like to stay in my own lane. So this is actually going to be me watching live. I don't watch the news, if you guys are aware, except if it's pertaining to credit stuff. But this is a CNN uh, clip about the Navy federal issue. I like to say scandal that's going on, and how they denied 50%, over 50% of their Black applicants who were trying to purchase a home. So I'm going to play that. What I'm going to do though, just so you guys have the full scoop, I'm going to break this into two parts. One is just going to be really a couple seconds long, and the rest is going to be the full video because I noticed the website that I saw this on excluded the most one of the most important parts, which was the introduction, and I saw that on CNN's website. So you're going to see that, and then I'm going to break away from that, and then you're going to see the whole video. So let me put that up here. And yeah, we're gonna go into it and you will see my reaction. And then when I'm done, I'll say my opinion. Okay. All right, let me get this going for y'all.
Federal credit union has the widest disparity in conventional mortgage approval rates between white and Black borrowers of any major lender. This is the nation's largest credit union. It serves military members, defense personnel, veterans, and their families. And CNN's Renee Marsh found that it rejected more than half its Black conventional mortgage applicants last year.
But it really is a nice.
Oh, I'm muted. Okay, so as far as that goes, I, I need to hear more information. Uh, I'm not surprised. We talked about this before in the past. I told you guys about my experience. If you don't know my experience, I'll probably explain a little later. But the whole redlining thing is an issue. But because this comes from Navy Federal, it has a different tone to it. I can definitely say that. But yeah, I need to hear more. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna switch over. Like I said, I was gonna do. And the reason why I did this in two parts is because that first clip wasn't that loud, and I just want to make sure you're hearing everything. And this clip is much louder, so hopefully, you'll hear it. So let me put them up so you can see what's going on. Okay, here we go. And let me unmute. That would be helpful. Wait a second. Bear with me. My bad, people.
Nice neighborhood, you know.
Baba Tandi, a Kenyan immigrant turned Texas entrepreneur, knew this was his dream home the moment he saw it. It's in a highly sought after school district that his son so desperately wanted to attend for its basketball program.
So how many homes did you look at before you found this one and said this was it?
We had about 6, but this was the one that we all wanted. And we were all praying to get this one.
Otandi's first choice for his mortgage was Navy Federal Credit Union. It services military members, defense personnel, veterans, and their families, and is the largest credit union in the country.
I was the CEO of my company, so I had a pretty good income.
Your credit was in the 700s.
Mm-hmm.
You'd recently sold your house.
Mm-hmm.
You had $100,000 for the down payment, which was more than 20%.
Correct. I mean, what more could you ask for?
CNN reviewed Otandi's financial documents. He even had a pre-approval letter from Navy Federal in hand. But just 2 weeks before closing,
We got a denial. They sent me a letter saying, "We're sorry, but your application has been denied."
Were you stunned, surprised?
I mean, I was stunned. I was shocked.
That's a dumbass question. Were you surprised? Of course he was surprised. Anybody would be surprised. Not only surprised, but you would feel some type of way if he's done a lot. He's a high wage earner, high credit score. These are all the things that I talk to my clients about. This is what I teach. I'm part of a lot of mortgage workshops, and this is what the lenders are talking about. And here this guy did everything he was supposed to do by the book and is approved, and then it's denied. Like, that's foul. So, lady, how else is he gonna feel? Like, yeah, he was surprised, but anyway.
Shocked. I was hurt.
The denial letter listed excessive obligations in relation to income as the reason.
When they denied is when we came back and said, oh man, there's something else going on.
And what did you think that something else was?
Discrimination.
But it wasn't just a Tandi. Thousands of other Black applicants were also rejected, according to a CNN analysis of.
I find that to be interesting that he instantly assumed that it was discrimination. I'm glad he came to that conclusion though, but not everyone comes to that conclusion. Maybe his case was different because of his status, his financial status, and he just knew that nothing would stop him from getting approved. But I'm glad he did think that way. That's my thought on that. But a lot of people wouldn't have instantly thought it had something to do with discrimination.
Federal consumer protection data. Last year, Navy Federal Credit Union only approved 48%.
Mhm.
That's less than half of its Black applicants for conventional home mortgages. White borrowers were approved more than 75% of the time. It's the biggest gap among the top 50 lenders. The data also shows Navy Federal was more than twice as likely to deny Black mortgage applicants than white ones, even when different variables, including income, debt, property value, and down payment percentage, were the same.
I feel validated at one point, but also I feel a bit of anger because it shouldn't be happening.
2 weeks after Navy Federal rejected him, another bank approved a Tandi for a mortgage. Navy Federal Credit Union denied CNN's request for an on-camera interview. In a statement, it said it is committed to equal and equitable lending practices, and that CNN's recent analysis does not account for major criteria required by any financial institution to approve a mortgage loan. That includes credit.
Okay. So Navy Federal doesn't want to be held accountable. Of course they're not. I mean, what entity wants to have that attached to their business? I get it. Yeah, so he has to prove this if he decides to move forward with a lawsuit. I think he definitely needs to sue. Hopefully he does. We're gonna finish watching this video. I'm not surprised though. I'm not. Navy Federal, no. I mean, it's still a part of what connected to the military. There's a lot of racial discrimination going on in the service. We know that. That's not unusual either. So why would they even help Black folks when it comes to getting approved for a mortgage? Even if you have the credentials, a lot of times they get the short end of the stick. The military is always giving Black people the short end of the stick when it comes to the military, their services, regardless of how much time they've served, whether they were injured or not. What the fuck? Like, they don't care about us. So that's not a shocker. But again, I still have some more opinions on this. Let's wrap this up.
Scores, which are not public. Navy Federal declined to provide additional data. We asked Navy Federal why Bob Otandi's loan was denied, but they declined to comment, citing member privacy. CNN's analysis does not prove.
They said member privacy, but if the client gives permission for them to talk to them and release their personal information, then they can. I don't know if that's what happened in the case. They didn't specify, but they could have told CNN exactly detail by detail why they denied him. As long as he gave the authorization, it should have been no big deal. So, I mean, whatever. I get it. I'm not mad. I get it.
Discrimination, but it does show dramatic racial disparities in who Navy Federal rejects and approves for conventional mortgage loans.
The Black-white homeownership gap and the Latino-white homeownership gap today are both wider than they were in 1968 when we passed the Federal Fair Housing Act.
Lisa Rice has spent decades as a fair housing advocate. She says the disparities in Navy Federal's lending data are alarming and an extreme example of a bigger problem.
It's definitely a larger systemic issue. And we know that we have a long history of redlining and a long history of lending discrimination.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. So, yeah, I brought that up in my other podcast. I've been a victim of it as well. Again, I don't mind sharing that story again. And if anybody is going through that, let me know, share, let's talk about it. But I'm not surprised, Navy Federal, not so much. It's disappointing though, because a lot of people look up to Navy Federal. This is looked at as like the top tier bank. Everybody wants a Navy Federal account. So, I mean, my only question at this particular moment is, why are they just now talking about it? These are statistics that were done in 2022. We're going on 2024. So once they've done their calculations, why hasn't anybody said anything till now? I mean, that's my only question.
And in this nation, well, all of that data that is sort of tainted with bias is being used to develop the credit scoring systems.
We got the house, thank God, and we moved on. But what about the ones who are denied? What about the ones who now can't get their own dream house? It's something that's going to affect the generation all the way down to their kids.
Well, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which oversees consumer lending, says that they do not comment on specific institutions, but they do conduct their own investigations to ensure that banks and credit unions are following fair lending practices, Jake.
Okay. All right, cool. So, no. Well, what's going on in the back a little bit. All right, cool. Now we know. So these are my thoughts. First of all, Navy Federal, first and first, mostly is wrong and they're foul. That's some foul shit. They've been doing this, I'm pretty sure, since they started. This system, I keep telling y'all, is not meant for us. And when I say us, not only am I talking about Black and brown people, particularly in this case, Black people, because that's what the topic was about. That's what they were talking about. It was designed to go against us, minorities, even the 1%ers of the finance community, I'm sorry, the 1%, whether the rich, right? This is for them and it's against us. The poor people keep them rich, right? And then the minorities, with the redlining, like she stated, which I experienced, people getting denied for applications because they're Black, people not being able to get their home sold and getting the correct value of their home because they're Black, so on and so forth. This is set up this way so we can't thrive and succeed. That's nothing new. The issue we need to focus on here is getting what we want by any means. So if we know that Navy Federal does not specialize in mortgages, especially for Black folks, then don't go to Navy Federal. If you want to go to a reputable lender, go to one that, do your research, get educated, like I always say, and then go to one that will give you a good value, give you a good price for a house. Especially this man had $100,000 as a down payment. That's crazy. He sold his house. That's crazy. That shouldn't have happened to him, but it's not shocking. Navy Federal, and I think I just talked about this in a prior podcast, but Navy Federal is good for credit cards and getting a car loan. After that, you don't go to them for anything. It's well known in the industry not to go to Navy Federal for a mortgage. I was taught that by a mortgage lender. And he didn't say because they discriminate against black folks. He just said it was just, they just have bad mortgage rates and all of that. Whatever comes with the mortgage, it's just not the best. There's better people out there. He's not the only person I heard say that. I've heard multiple lenders say that. I've had one lender say that a client came to them, said they were pre-approved by Navy Federal, and when they saw the writing and how the agreement was laid out, they redirected them to another lender so they could get a better deal. I mean, that person was black too, so maybe it's because they're black. I don't know, and they're so evasive, and you can't confirm or deny, but the cards are stacked up to say, yeah, well, it's because of that. I am curious as to why this wasn't addressed sooner. If this is an old um survey that they've done, why didn't they address it last year? Why didn't they address it this year? Why did you wait damn near 2 years? And the only guess I have, the only reason, if I were to take it off the top of the dome, is that they just continue to go under the radar. There wasn't enough there weren't enough people complaining about it. Nobody really makes moves like that, and so there's a certain amount of complaints, but just don't rock out with Navy Federal. I am actually part of a Navy Federal Facebook group, and I did see their apology, and they're just not going to openly admit to anything. I also spoke to y'all years ago before when I was stating that this whole credit industry was built off the backs of slavery. If you get to the root of it all, you have to remember slaves were property. Okay, we were not deemed human beings, and you could get credit for having a slave, or purchasing a slave. So think about that. So fast forward, and people like to say, oh, racism is dead and so on and so forth. But systematic racism is alive, and racism is not dead. It's still on and popping, as we can see. So for a system that was built and created off of slavery, like most things in America, for it to blow up to be what it is now, you got FICO, you got, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, you have these banks, you have Wells Fargo, all of these banks. Why would you think that they would be for black folks? Why? Just what makes you think that? And lastly, I'm going to say this particular guy, he is not a foundational black person, meaning he wasn't a foundational black American. He seems like he's an immigrant, respectfully. I'm saying this with all due respect. And I'm glad he has all the right credentials and everything, but you do have to move through life as a black American with the understanding that could potentially happen to you because you're black, and have a backup, and then a backup to the backup if you were that much in need of purchasing a home, right? So I'm not blaming him or anything. It's just, we know already we have to move differently. That's why I talk all the time and give you guys options and tricks and try to get you to see what's really going on in these credit streets. And I know I'm saying this mad early. I've said this years ago. Personal credit is going to be, I said obsolete, but let me clarify. I believe, in my opinion, personal credit is not going to be able to, you won't be able to fix personal credit. They're going to put all this shit on your personal credit. It's going to be fucked up. It's going to be hard for you to get approved for things on the personal side. All the more reason to get on the business side. Fix it now. Rock out with banks that want to rock out with you. Deal with real estate agents that are understanding and sensitive to the nature. Like I said, with my experience, I went through 8 real estate agents and I was redlined like a motherfucker until that final person, who happened to be a black Muslim woman, she helped me as soon as I talked to her and I was fussing at her about, not to her, but just fussing about what I went through. She explained that I was redlined. She understood it. She even explained to me that that's the first chapter they talk about in real estate school. And then she instantly gave me like 4 houses to look at for the next day. Boom. You want somebody like that, regardless whether you're discriminated because of your skin, your sex, your religion, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So be aware. But this guy, he respectfully was an immigrant, and I think he was just trying to do things the right way, the American way, the straight way. I mean, and he did, and he just didn't think that he could get burnt. He didn't have the backup to his backup. He trusted in Navy Federal, he relied in Navy Federal, but Navy Federal does not specialize in this. He didn't know. But what about the other people that were rejected, like they said, like he said in the video? I'm curious to hear a few of their stories, not just this one story about what they went through and why, what the reason was for rejection. And lastly, I want to know Navy Federal's solution. Are you going to try to resolve this now? Are they going to, moving forward, now that it's on CNN and now it's exposed, are they going to go ahead and, like, I don't know, approve all black folk now? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But at the end of the result, you guys just understand this game is not meant for you. It's not meant for us. If you're not one of the 1%, you're not part of the elite, you're going to get it somehow, some way. It's because you're black, because you're brown, because you're Native American, because you're a female, because you're disabled, because you're a disabled vet, because it's always going to be something. So go where you're wanted. Let me say that. Go where you're wanted. Go with people that have your best interest at heart, and educate yourself. Don't fall for the okie doke, and don't just accept bullshit. Have a backup for your backup. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, none of these entities are here. They want something, and even if you find a good one, they have ulterior motives too. But you just want one that is more relatable for you. But in the end, that's all I got. I know I was a little late talking about Navy Federal. That is literally the first time I saw that video. Uh, it is what it is, people. Do what you got to do, get educated. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Y'all know how to reach me. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out my podcast, Coast to Coast Credit. I'm on there. And if you need a lender, if you need a real estate agent, definitely go on my Facebook page, Credit and First Time Home Buyers Plug. Check that out. It's in the description. And you'll find over 1,300 real estate agents, and they're mostly vetted. And if they're not vetted, I know they come from a good source, a reputable source. And I also have mortgage lenders that I have personal relationships with. Personally know, and have great business relationships with them. Let me say that. At multiple throughout the United States. Go check them out, and just join the group and get educated. Even if you go on my YouTube channel, same thing. All right. But in the meantime, I will talk to y'all soon. We got more videos coming out, more reaction videos. And if you want me to respond to anything in particular, just leave a comment and I'll do a little research and then react to that as well. But in the meantime, y'all have a good one and good luck on your credit journey.